This is Mario Tereslion here and a life partner, and I can't express how happy I am to actually welcome you into my space here. And in this particular episode that we have for a life partner, which is going to be about the truth about men that nobody is talking about. And if you are new to our channel, please just send me a message. Let me know where you're actually tuning in from, and welcome. The warmest of welcomes to our episode today. I am Mario Tereslion, the founder of AlivePartner.com, where we support men and women who are having deep challenges in their particular relationships, in their marriages, to be able to connect at a much deeper level. And just to give you a little bit of my background, I am a physician by training. I'm a Harvard, Yale, and Columbia University trained physician. And I have been in this journey for understanding these pieces of communication and connection for over 25 years, happily married for 14 years. And along the way, in all of those years, there were a lot of different challenges that I experienced that simply just kept me dumbfounded. Like, what is missing here? And that led to a tremendous journey to spend over 25 years searching. And not only that, spending over $500,000 of my own financial capacity with my wife to actually have some of these discoveries and then put them into action. And along the way came, through so many different things that simply didn't work, particularly if you're a successful man or a successful woman who's actually been looking. You've done the books, you've done the different courses, you have been researching, perhaps like we have and I have. You've gone to the super high-end retreats across the world only to find that you're not really being understood, you're not being gotten the way that you actually wanted to. Something is missing. And that really led to the creation of this initiative called A Life Partner. And today's show, I want to be talking about something that is very counterintuitive. And I've called the title of this particular episode, The Truths About Men That Nobody's Talking About. And this is really part of the discoveries that I've had along the way, which I think are really important. You see, one of the things that I have come across a lot in my community and all the different members who've been through the courses or are part of our different mentorships that we have for men and for women is this sense of disconnection between the man and the woman. If you talk to the woman, she's feeling as though, her man doesn't get her. They're in different planets. They're just not connecting. If you talk to the guy, there's this kind of sense of deer in a headlight where I just don't get it. I'm doing everything right. I'm a super successful guy. I'm a go-getter. I'm just getting out there and being able to make it happen every single day. But when it comes to coming to my house, when it comes to being with my woman, I'm simply not being able to actually connect with her at that level. What exactly is missing? And when that happens, it is extremely painful for both of them. And it's super painful for the man to really not understand what is it that is going on when people start dating and things are going great in the beginning. Everything is awesome. It's a path of roses. And then as time goes on and you're spending more and more time with the person, there's an evolution that we all undergo and things start to change. Things start to morph. If you've been married or in a relationship for X amount of time, you know that the way you are right now, it's typically not the same person that you were when you actually started that journey of being in this relationship. And one of the misconceptions that I have come across that is very significant, and I have seen along the way in this journey for men and women, especially for men, is this misconception that men do not have feelings. And when I say that men don't have feelings, I'm not referring that you can't just feel or you can't just be happy or you can be sad or can be angry. No, when it comes to drawing the comparison between the man and the woman, and particularly when the woman is talking about the fact that she is not connecting with him, like he doesn't get me, he doesn't have the feelings to be able to meet me at that level. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to digress a little bit and go into a bit of a historical sort of context to understand this misconception that men don't have feelings. You see, if we go back, 300,000 years ago, which is by best of estimates what it's being said by historians and anthropologists, that we have been around on the face of the earth as what we know ourselves to be, human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens. Well, if you think about it, things were very different. We're not sitting in a house like I am right now. We're out there in the wild, and it was a completely different social convention. And the extent of the emotional development that a man would have had was extremely different from a woman. The men would be just hanging out with themselves. They would be hunting and gathering, taking care of one another. And the extent of celebration and emotions that would be experienced by the men, most likely, as you may imagine, would have been associated with the men celebrating the fact that maybe they just caught some game, or maybe an animal was going to kill me and you were with me and you basically killed that animal before I became that animal's lunch. And then we're just high-fiving and we're celebrating the fact that, hey, here we are. But the fact of the matter is, now we are in the 21st century and things are very, very different. We don't have that kind of same degree of pressing needs that might have been had 300,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Now, if you actually think about a woman, and if you're a woman, you'll be able to relate to this. Women stayed back in the villages and they had a whole different range of functions that were being performed. And those functions allowed them, by virtue of the social group they had, the other women, to develop very different ways of relating to one another. And I like to call this as kind of like the evolution of the first support groups, if you will, and how they care for each other, how they supported one another as they were going through different things, whether it was, their health, their development, maturation, and so on, taking care of the kids, delivering children, as the men would have been outside there in the wild and not around to be there for them. That allowed them and afforded them a very different opportunity to be able to create a connection and emotional development that men did not have. But that doesn't take away the fact that we don't have the capacity to actually have those emotions and those feelings. And if we put all of that into the 21st century, one of the things that I have seen very commonly with people in my community is this sense of disconnect, and this sense of the woman feeling unmet, is this sense of the woman really getting to a point of frustration in the relationship where they have this sense that, we just can't connect. And perhaps that's because this guy doesn't have feelings and he really can't go there. My experience in working with men at a very deep level in some of the things that we teach in the Alive Partner course and in the mentorships and in the community is actually very different. And I can speak to that through my own journey and the journey of many men that I have known along the way. And I would propose that we have a very deep feeling nature as well. And in some instances, some men can actually feel a lot more than a woman can feel in a particular situation. And this is a critical point, and I'm not trying to say men are women or women are better. It's a critical point because in a relationship, the man can actually bring so much light, bring so much clarity to a situation that the woman may be actually going through, and vice versa. The woman can actually do the same thing for the man. But there has to be this starting point where we're starting to really consider that, in fact, this nature, this feeling nature, is also within the man, resides within the man. And insofar as we learn how to tap into that, how to be able to bring it to the surface, how to be able to experience it, which is what allows us to connect with it and be able to offer it to a woman, then we start to change this relationship of the man doesn't have feelings. So for the purpose of this new way of thinking about this, I invite you to bring this new awareness to the fact that, yes, there are feelings. And when that starts to happen, something really, really counterintuitive happens in the relationship. The woman is not expecting that the guy can actually go into those places. So that to her is kind of like deer in a headlight, right? She just, wow, what is this all about? Secondly, an area that is talked about by the women that really bothers him a lot is when the woman cannot, quote unquote, feel that this man, in fact, has emotions and deep feelings running inside of him, they lose trust for the man. So in a man being able to tap into his feeling nature, his emotions, and being able to have this constant relationship with that and being able to display it to the woman, it gives her a huge wake up call that, wow, this is really incredible. And it becomes extremely attractive. And besides the attractive part, as I was saying, the aspect of trust starts to be generated. Why? Because if she is relating to another person that can have feelings and can have the compassion for whatever she may be going through, that opens her up to be able to share more of what's actually happening for her. So it completely takes away this notion that men may be having, like, oh, women are crazy, they're just being emotional, maybe they're being hormonal. No, there is this deeply running essence to both the man and the woman that speaks to the fact that emotions are there, and it starts to take away this kind of conversation that perhaps us men have had about women, that continues to propagate this notion of disconnection and that we cannot really relate at that level. So if this is new to you, and the whole experience here of being a life partner is new to you, I'm going to ask you to click here and subscribe so that you can continue to get this information. And you'll see the link here for our newsletter as well, so you can get tips and tools on how to be able to do this in a very frequent and successful basis that will change not only the way that you relate with her, but ultimately the way that you relate to yourself and the conversations that are being had internally that ultimately play significant and impactful role in the way that you relate to your woman. The second truth, which is really impactful as well, and we need to get that cat out of the bag, is the following. This notion that men are here to manage the woman, manage her emotions, to control her. We have to actually get off that conversation and really display that. The fact of the matter is, whether it's men amongst men, men and women, or women amongst women, you really can't control somebody's emotions. You can't really control the other person. And you could try to do that, and you could try it perhaps for X amount of time, but it's going to be backfiring on you royally. Ultimately, and I personally believe, and I teach about this, I think that control is a complete illusion. But let's just play along and say that you wanted to control something. Perhaps the only thing that you could have more control over or more influence over is what is it that your experience is of any particular situation. Beyond that, you're not going to be able to control her. You're not going to be able to control her emotions. And if you attempt to do that, and if you have, you probably will be able to say yes to this. It backfires. And it backfires because it creates resentment, it creates anger. The other person feels suppressed. The other person feels completely disconnected from you. She doesn't feel that she's being heard. And when those things happen, they essentially just create more and more of a separation where the two are going to be feeling as though you're in different planets, and at some point feel in the same household as though you're just roommates. A very undesirable situation, particularly if you're seeking to prevent a catastrophic outcome in your marriage, such as a divorce, which can be so painful, so costly. And the source to be able to start really erasing that possibility and creating something completely new is just to be aware that we as men are not here to manage you as a woman. We're not here to try to control you, because it's just simply practically it's very not functional. It's very not logical as well to actually do that. And it's important to actually let them know about that. Hey, your experience is your experience. I'm having my experiences too, and I want to let you know I'm not here to try to control how you're feeling. I'm not trying to suppress what the feelings are coming up for you. In fact, the more as men we become aware of what she's emoting, what she's feeling in that very moment, and the more we open to actually tapping into what that generates for us in our own emotions and feelings, I really believe it's a superpower that men get to generate. And I can't tell you how many times in speaking to women who've been able to experience a man who is coming from that place, how that makes him look so powerful in her eyes. And that is an all told truth about men, because this conception that we've had that, if men are emotional, they're going to be weak in the eyes of the woman. If men are emotional and they're really tuning into that, they're not going to be able to protect their family. They're not going to be able to provide for their family. They're just going to be weak men. I'll offer you that it's actually a complete misconception as well. And I have seen this over and over with people that I have worked with. When they start to really digging into that, into feeling those emotions, into feeling what the experiences are, and be able to reveal them, which many people call it being vulnerable and weak, but not in the eyes of the woman, and it's definitely not a weakness, it's a tremendous superpower. It just creates a tremendous bond. It creates a connection that nothing can really supersede it. And I have experienced this in my own marriage so many times. I mean, I can't tell you how many experiences I've had with this, where It was not intuitive to me to go into those places, to feel into those places that my woman typically was seeing, and many women do see about the man. And because we're not willing to open up to that, we haven't known how to, truthfully, it changes the dynamic, and it changes the perception of the woman for the man, how she sees him. So that is incredibly powerful. So we are not here, for all the women listening to this right now, we're not here to control you. We're not here to try to make your life be in a certain way. As we continue to evolve in our evolution as feeling men, feeling beings who want to really be in a whole relationship where we're both benefiting mutually from it, we just want to honor and respect the fact that you're having your emotions, and I'm going to leverage that I'm seeing, and the gift of you as a woman giving that to me as a way for me to be inspired to actually feel my own emotions so that I can give them to you, and both can actually benefit from that moment. The last truth that I'm going to be talking about today, about men that nobody really talks about, is the following. For the most part, men, we have not been taught to really feel our bodies. And this is something that I talk a lot about in the life partner community. You see, as a physician, I will tell you that, we're still living in the era of the brain. Everything is revering the brain. Oh, the person is so smart, so bright, so brilliant. You're a genius. Everything is about the brain. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at my body, if you just look at your body in the mirror, this portion of the body relative to everything else in a quote unquote normal person is actually a very small amount of volume, of what the body is. And yet we have this whole thing, which is the rest of the body, which is covered in nerve endings, and this whole thing of the skin and the body and those nerve endings. I like to think of them as the most sophisticated radar system in the planet that we know. And until something else comes from a different galaxy and we learn about something even more powerful, I can't think of anything that we have produced scientifically that has the feeling capabilities, the sensing capabilities that the human body has. Yet, for most of us, especially for men, we haven't really learned to tap into the power of being able to utilize this feeling body to be able to inform this thing up here, the brain, about so much information that can be used. Now, if I can be a little medical here and bring my 30 years of being in medicine, this is a really powerful aspect of the journey of being a life partner and being, just getting away from this possible track of divorcing and separating and all the pain that comes from that. Why is that? Because that is a tremendous access point to be able to inform ourselves, the brain, and to be able to make better decisions. And when men have been lacking the capability to channel, to be able to feel the emotions, the sensations that your body is all the time just throwing at you, we miss out not just in what's possible to create an amazing relationship with a woman, because she's expecting to get deeper connection, and we haven't really been able to tap into this feeling body to be able to give that to her. But there's another part that really concerns me, and I see this on a regular basis in my career as a physician, and it's the fact that there is a tremendous health implication to not being able to feel. And that is super detrimental to men's health. Um, and another way that I like to think of this, it's kind of like a funny metaphor, but at the same time, it's kind of scary. Imagine that you were sleeping and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and then the fire alarm goes off in your bedroom. And here you are, you get up all upset because you've been woken up by the fire alarm. You completely get on your bed, or maybe you get on a chair and you reach up to grab the detector, the smoke detector, and it's just going off and beeping. It's just so annoying. You pretty much undo it and you take the battery out. You toss the battery. You may put the smoke detector on the side, on the table or whatever. And now you go back to bed. And in fact, there was a fire in your place, and this is completely consuming the entire place down, and you have completely neglected to hear the alarm. Well, you may think that this is silly, but the fact is, I have seen this over and over for 3 decades in human beings neglecting the smoke detector, the alarm that is your body telling you that things are simply not right. You could think about this as headaches. You can think about this as a bellyache. Maybe you got up out of a chair and now your low back is in pain. And what do? Well, I'm just going to go and take a pill for that, and I'm going to take some Tylenol, some Motrin, whatever the case may be, to make it go away. And that's the end of the conversation. We're not going to look into anything else. All of that sensation that is a huge gift that the body has to give you, now suddenly it has been wasted away. And this is really profound, because when it comes to relationships, this happens. And when men don't have the capability, and they haven't developed the capability to actually be sensing and how that's informing him to be able to make better decisions, whether it's how he's relating to the woman or how he's relating to his own health, there will be detrimental effects from doing that impact the health of the man and ultimately also impact the health of the relationship. And that's another untold truth. And there are plenty of ways that we talk about here in the Alive Partner community and in the Alive Partner course and the mentorship programs on how to be able to dial that in, how to be able to leverage this incredible, sophisticated radar, as I like to call it, that is your body, so that you have that information and you can actually have better decisions available to you, because the information that you're getting is a lot more powerful and a lot stronger as it informs the brain to make those decisions. So those are the three truths that I wanted to talk today about men that are not being talked about, and I'll just go quickly over them. The first one is going to be the aspect of men feeling just as much as women, and in some cases being able to feel even more than women can. So that's a really important distinction. The second thing is, we are not here to manage the women, to control the women. And that really creates a very different relationship. Why? Because in combination with step number 3, or the third truth, which is tapping into the feeling body, you'll be able to generate a completely different experience and relationship within yourself that ultimately changes the way that you relate to your woman. And that generates a very different relationship. It makes you a full, alive human being, a full, alive partner that can give and receive as you're in that exchange with her. And I have seen this really stop the divorce train tracks and the splitting of relationships, and the anger, the frustration that happens not just for men, but also happens for women, completely be stopped on its tracks and have a very different awareness that allows them to communicate and connect differently. And this is a game changer. So if you want to learn more about this, and this information has been resonating with you, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that you can continue to be informed when we're going to be going live, which is going to be every single week. We're going to be here on YouTube at 1:30 in the afternoon Mountain Standard Time every Wednesday. We'll be going live here in the Alive Partner channel. And you can also follow us on Instagram and see us there on Fridays. And we also go live at 1:30 p.m. on Fridays as well. And I can't wait to hear your comments. Let me know what you thought about this. You like it, you disagree. I like to read all the comments, and I love to know exactly where you're tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe so that we can continue to blossom in this community and continue to see one another week after week. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you on our next episode. See you next time.